Hello, and welcome to the Totally Schway podcast, a podcast about the DCAU and whatever the hell else I want to talk about. My name's Mary.
My name's Luke.
And welcome to our version of a Pride special. Today, we're going to talk about some really awesome characters. I mean, when do we not? Pride characters!
Yeah, so to clarify what you mean by Pride characters, you're talking about
LGBTQA plus characters.
Yeah.
Or as I like to call them, and I call myself, queer characters.
Yes, yeah. And there will probably be some listeners going, there were no gay characters in the 90s. Homosexuality did not exist back then, which is... I've actually had comments like that on some of my videos. I know most of you probably don't think that way, but there will be the odd person. And I would just politely ask you to open your mind briefly and consider the fact that there is such a thing called subtext.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just about the 90s either. Come on. I mean, have you seen, like, movies from the early 1900s or the mid-1900s? Come on. There were characters there where they didn't have to say that they were queer for you to know.
Yes. Yeah.
Or you have characters that, you know, are what you want them to be because it's a fictional TV show and you take from it what you want. Mm-hmm. And whatever your journey is in life, you can take whatever you want from that character.
Yeah, and it's true that they couldn't just out and out say, like, this character is gay, but they could include plenty of not so subtle hints.
Like holding hands, being in the same room.
Yes, so a great example of that is Maggie Sawyer in Superman the Animated Series. So when she was injured by the Hordes of Apocalypse, or was it Intergang? I forget. But she was injured and she had to go to hospital, which enraged her partner, Dan Turpin. And when he got to the hospital, there was a woman there with Maggie Sawyer, comforting her, holding her hand, and her name was Toby. And anyone that read the Superman comics would know that Toby was Maggie Sawyer's girlfriend. Now, in the cartoon, they couldn't out and out say, oh, hey, Maggie Sawyer's girlfriend, Toby. They had to be more subtle about it. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't change the fact that that's who it was, just because they were subtle. And just because you didn't notice, it's okay to not notice these things, to have things go over your head. Plenty of stuff like that happens to me all the time. I always miss things. And then afterwards I go, oh yeah, that's what that means. Okay, whoops.
I will literally have watched a TV show when I was a teenager. And then when I'm like washing my hair or something, it's like, oh, it literally does that. I'm not even kidding. Or if I'm like painting my nails or something or concentrating on something, it's like, oh, that's what that meant. That's what they were trying to say.
Yes, yeah. And I think it shows, it gives the creative team the opportunity to be more inventive in getting their point across. So, can I talk about a character now? We've picked out a couple of characters each.
Of course you can.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, can I go into my one first? But I want to give a great example of a queer character from Batman the Animated Series, and that is Teddy Lupus, who some of you will be scratching your head going, who?
What?
Yeah. So Teddy is Matt Hagen's stand-in in Feet of Clay. He is, some people would describe him as Matt Hagen's confidant.
Confidant?
Yes, but he was his boyfriend.
Yeah.
Now, there'll be people going, what? How is this possible in the 90s? Well, you know, they had to be quite creative about it. I've done a video. I'm sure most of you have probably already seen it. I called it the queer tragedy of Clayface, and I'm not saying queer as in strange. I'm saying queer as in homosexual. And the work of Brad Rader, who did the storyboards for a good chunk of that episode. In fact, he did most of the talking sections because that was the kind of thing that he enjoyed working on. He went out of his way to make it clear that the characters were in a relationship. So there's one specific scene. The movements of the character, when coupled with the voice performance, makes it very clear. Mm-hmm. So there's the scene where, in Feet of Clay Part 2, where Clayface is sitting looking in the mirror. He's all doom and gloom. Teddy's going, oh, come on, it's not that bad. You've come back before. He's trying to be supportive. Look at all of these great movies you did after your accident. And Clayface is looking at him and goes, yeah, some of the best parts I ever had. And his face starts to change. And Teddy is so enthusiastic about it because, hey, I think the exact words he says, are, it's not over. You can go on. We can go on. Now, he's not saying, hey, I've still got a job, yabba dabba doo. Yeah. He's saying, you're not a hideous monster. We can still continue our relationship.
Yeah.
And there's this really wonderfully staged scene where, like, Clayface is looking in the mirror at getting his face back after he's transformed. He's surprised and he's kind of touching his face, like, going, oh my God, what's going on? And then Teddy just kind of really cheerfully pops in and he's like, whee! Now, that was staged directly by Brad, and that's a wonderful moment. Mm-hmm. It really gets the sense of both characters across, because Teddy kind of inserts himself and takes up the whole frame, and Clayface puts his hands on Teddy's shoulders and just moves him out of the way so that he can keep looking at himself. And of course, the part where Clayface turns his whole body back into a person and Teddy embraces him, like wraps his arms around Clayface's arm, and the shock of being touched makes him break his concentration. He turns back into the monster. That kind of embrace is not just done by pals, okay? No.
I mean, no.
It's generally not.
Yeah.
And I think that Teddy he's such a sad character.
Yes.
Because he really loves Matt Hagen, but Matt Hagen is a scumbag. He's abusive. Like you see in part 1, when Matt Hagen's run out of his face cream, and he's like smashing up his trailer trying to find some.
Exactly what I do when I run out of my face cream.
And then Teddy reveals he's kept a little bit aside just in case.
Yeah.
And like Matt Hagen snatches it out of his hand. There's like a really loud slap sound. Mm-hmm. And he goes, "You were holding out on me." He's like really unkind to him.
Yeah.
And Teddy's just taking it. He's just taking it. And getting back to that, so after Clayface gets more control over his powers, he decides he doesn't need Teddy anymore, and he literally picks him up and throws him across a room into a bookcase. And it's just so sad. It's so sad, because after Clayface pretends that he has died, the whole world thinks that he's died, and Teddy goes to the hospital where his body is being held, but he can't go in. Mm-hmm. He can't go in there and claim the body, because hospitals at the time, and some hospitals still don't, don't recognize same-sex relationships.
Losers. Yeah,
so he had no claim to Matt Hagen at all, despite the fact that they were in a very intimate relationship with each other. Mm-hmm. And
I still can't believe that. I'm sorry. Like, a relationship is a relationship, no matter what your gender is. And what losers.
Yeah. And Brad Rader, when I was talking to him about, after he watched my Clayface video, he said that that scene with Teddy reminded him of a time when he had been hit by a car and was in the hospital. Mm-hmm. And the hospital he was in would not let his husband come and see him. He had to get permission from his sister to allow his husband to come and see him in the hospital, which is just obscene to me. It's
like, could you imagine not being like, because let's be honest, out of the two of us, I'm going to be the one hit by a car.
Yeah, you're going to be the one in hospital.
Yeah. Could you imagine not being able to see me?
Yeah.
Like going up to the hospital and be like, oh, I'd like to see, Mary. Let me see her now. They'd take you straight up. But could you imagine them not doing that and be like, oh, because you're a man or whatnot? That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's upsetting that people like Brad have had to have these instances in life. But the character of Teddy was beautiful.
Yeah. And it just breaks my heart every time where he's looking up at the hospital and he goes, see you around, Matt, and then just walks away.
Yeah.
Of course, he doesn't know Clayface is alive and standing behind him, pretending to be a woman and laughing at his misery. Because Clayface is just an awful person. He's absolutely awful. Yeah. Doesn't deserve what happened to him, but he was still awful, particularly to Teddy.
Can we just switch to having just like Teddy be Clayface?
No, I don't want anything else bad happening to Teddy. I actually asked Brad, I said, did you put any of yourself into these characters? Because I said, I feel like Teddy he gives me, vibes of you. And he was like, I put myself into all of my characters. I was like,
best answer.
That's a very good answer.
Best answer.
Before we move on, one other fun story that Brad told me relating to this final scene.
Every time you do something, I was just going to be like, name drop.
I just wanted to share this anecdote. So at the time of doing the storyboards for that final scene, Brad actually wanted Clayface to be sad that he couldn't be with Teddy. Mm-hmm. And Kevin Altieri insisted that he had to mock him and because he's evil, he's bad. And that Clayface did not love Teddy, he was using him. And Brad said that he actually considered quitting the show over it. He felt so strongly about it because he said there was never any positive representation of homosexuality in media around that time. Mm-hmm. And he felt like this was a great opportunity to do it. And he was very unhappy about it. However, earlier this year, he watched Feet of Clay Part 1 for the first time. And he said to me afterwards, he said, if I'd have known that Matt Hagen was so horrible to Teddy all along, I never would have been upset about that last scene. Yeah, Matt Hagen's awful. Oh, my God, he's terrible. So, yeah, fun story.
We love Brad and we love Kevin.
Yeah, they're all great people.
They really are. And the thing is about them is the characters that they have helped, create for this show. And I'm not just saying come up for the concept of the characters. I'm saying like the vibe you get with this show is, I don't think anyone else could have done it as well as them.
Yeah, and I want to just give a quick shout out to Andrea Romano as well for casting this role. Because she could have quite easily gone for like some sort of campy, effeminate sounding person.
Yeah.
But she chose to go the opposite route.
Yeah.
Of going someone. He sounds more like a blue collar worker, doesn't he? Mm-hmm. And yeah, maybe that's partly why people don't immediately recognise him as homosexual, even though he's wearing a lavender shirt. That was a joke.
I was about to say that's one of my favorite colors. What are you talking about?
Exactly. Anyway, that's enough about Teddy. I've gone on about him for ages. But if you want to learn more about the queer references in Clayface episodes, go watch my Queer Tragedy of Clayface video.
Yeah. So two of the characters that I'm going to talk about are Harley and Ivy. Mm-hmm. Some people might disagree and say, oh no, these characters aren't part of the LGBTQA plus community. I beg to differ. Mm-hmm. Because to me, it's not subtle. No. I feel that the relationship that Harley and Ivy end up having is not just a close friend relationship. And I think around the time that this show came out, you had that where they had to be like close friends in TV shows, but it was, scripted as close friends, and then you could take that from what you want or what you will. And the script in this and Batman the Animated Series, I don't think it's subtle because they're not just close friends. Their relationship is not platonic.
Yeah, I mean, they spend half their time in their home sitting around in their underwear together.
Yeah.
There's a funny story, actually, that when the Joker turns up on the scene, he says, "What busy little bees you've been." Mm-hmm. In the original script, it was, "What busy little beavers you've been," which was a very intentional reference. And the censors caught it and said, "Nope, we're not going there. Change it."
I don't know what it is about the word beaver. It just like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess it's because I am an 80s and 90s kid.
You don't really hear
That-
people use
yeah.
it as a reference for vagina anymore, do
Yeah.
you?
Whereas in the 80s and 90s,
Yeah.
it was like that was the thing because sometimes the censors got it, sometimes it didn't. But if you have a lot of the kooky, raunchy 80s and 90s movies, like especially like the comedies, you would hear it and it's like, oh my God, shut up, please.
Yeah.
Please.
Although I am reminded of the joke from Naked Gun where Priscilla Presley's going up a ladder, Leslie Nielsen's standing at the bottom of the ladder. He looks up, says, "Nice beaver," and then she hands down a stuffed beaver.
Yeah.
It's like the actual animal.
Yeah.
She was like, "Yeah, we had it stuffed last week," and he was like, "Great," and then puts it on her
Oh
shelf.
my goodness. But yeah, I would love to be able to do a whole podcast about Harley. And I could because I love that character so much. But with Harley, I think this was the first just TV character that I ever felt as if, oh my God, that's kind of like me. Like, in some of the things that they do, like the kind of like self-destruction and the, oh my God, I like you even though you're a girl and you're a guy. Oh my God, I love it. And you could blatantly see that. And it wasn't hidden. And for, Kid Mary, growing up in a world where I wasn't confused. I knew what was going on. But growing up in a world where the rest of society is confused on what being a bisexual is, and they use that word as, it's just a phase, or it's kind of used as a derogatory word or a nasty word. Like they'll say that to make you feel bad, like the way that they say it. I mean, like, oh my God, you're bisexual, like, and like what's negative about that? When I grew up and I watched this again, there was episodes on YouTube when YouTube first came about, and because Luke and I were talking about it over MySpace. Yep, I said that, MySpace. I watched them again, and then it just, bam, it hit me again, saying, like, this is why I knew, this is one of the reasons why I knew that I was who I was. And I have to thank Harley Quinn for that. Obviously, there are other characters, but I loved the fact that it wasn't something that was discreet. Harley was just Harley, unashamed. And when she has her relationship with Ivy, you didn't need a censor for that. You didn't need a censor to tell you, oh no, that's not wrong, that's wrong, whatever. The way that they did it was quite amazing on a kid's show. How do you think that relationship is?
There will be people that will turn around and say, in Harley and Ivy, Harley Quinn gets upset because she's not with the Joker still. I will introduce you to a word called polyamory.
Yeah. Polyamory is a thing. It's not something that I know a lot about. I know what it is, and I've known of people that are polyamorous, and to them it's such a beautiful thing. And when you see somebody that has love and affection for multiple people and they have it in a healthy, loving way, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So these words that we use, like bisexual, polyamory, all of that, they're not dirty words. Some of us might not be a polyamorous. Like, I'm not, but I still look at it. That's this relationship when I say it. And I say, that could be something beautiful.
Yeah. And the Batman Adventures Continue comics, they have explicitly said that Harley and Ivy are in a sexual relationship with each other. And there's even an issue in Volume 3, or Season 3, I should say, number 2, which was drawn by Kevin Altieri,
We love
where
Kevin.
Harley Quinn goes to visit her college girlfriend, and I don't mean like her chum, it's like her sexual partner, who at the time was also dating Bruce Wayne. And when Batman learns this, he becomes actually not like angry or anything, but he's like, oh, she was cheating on me. Oh.
Yeah.
And through the course of the story, it's revealed that she was also cheating on both of them with Harvey Dent. and there's this wonderful panel drawn by Kevin where Two-Face is talking about it because they suspected that Two-Face had taken her. I forget why. Mm-hmm. He hadn't. But when Batman says something to him like, so you betrayed your best friend Bruce Wayne? And Two-Face has just kind of got this smirk on his face, and he shrugs and goes, the heart wants what the heart wants. And then Batman punches him in the face. I thought that was a great moment.
Yeah. It's nice that he wasn't angry about, like, oh, gosh, she dated another girl. He was like, you cheated.
Yeah, exactly. It's the sense of betrayal.
That's the dirtiness of it, not the sexuality.
Yeah, he's more upset about Harvey Dent as well because he felt betrayed.
Betrayal.
Yeah, it's betrayal from both of them because Harvey was his best friend. Mm-hmm. So it's doubled. That's ironic, isn't it? Double betrayal with Two-Face.
Yeah. Would you like to talk about another character, or would you like me to go on and talk?
Okay. So I'll talk about one character as well. So this is relating to the only like completely out there trans character, and that was Selma from Gotham Girls. Now, I bet most people won't have seen Gotham Girls because it was a early 2000s web cartoon set in the DC animated universe with the voice actors, but it focused on Harley, Ivy, Catwoman, Renee Montoya, and Batgirl. And in the third season of it, they did like a episodic story that went from one episode to the other. Sequential story, let's call it. Because the previous seasons had just been like one-off, like 3-minute shorts. Mostly comedic, but still generally quite good. But the third season had a story running throughout all of it, and it was more serious, and it was about all of the men disappearing in Gotham. Including a female police officer was the only one that disappeared. And it has a cliffhanger in one of the episodes where Batgirl realises why this police officer has disappeared. She says, Selma was a man. Now, it comes across a bit insensitive these days. Mm-hmm. Keep in mind this was written, about 20 years ago. That shock reveal, as I said, comes across as a bit insensitive, but they make up for it in later episodes when everyone is brought back and Batgirl talks to Selma. And they just treat it like it's a normal thing. It's not like, oh my God, look at this weirdo. Mm-hmm. It's just something that's accepted, and Batgirl's like, well, if you're not ready to tell people, that's fine. I'm not going to tell anyone.
Yeah.
It's no bother. You're not hurting anyone. And I thought that was actually quite nice, despite the initial insensitivity. But I believe Paul Dini wrote it, and he is very supportive of trans characters.
We love Paul Dini.
Yeah. I'm reminded of Baby Doll as well. Now, Baby Doll isn't a trans character per se, but she is...
The feeling is there.
Yeah, she's someone that trans people, I imagine, could identify with, particularly because there's that last scene in the Hall of Mirrors where she sees herself in the reflection and she's a grown adult woman. She goes, look, that's me in there. The real me. Mm-hmm. That's who she identifies as. That's who she thinks she is. That's who she thinks she should be.
Well, that's who she is on the inside.
Yes, that's right. That's how the world should see her. Mm-hmm. But they don't. And that's one of the things that's caused her to have her breakdown. Of the mistreatment that she has felt, the disrespect, the mockery.
Yeah.
Because she's trying to live as her authentic self, and people are looking at her and go, no, you look like a little girl, so you've just got to stay as a little girl even though you're in your 30s. Mm-hmm. I'm sure that is something that trans people could relate to. In fact, Watchtower Database years ago did a video about the queer characters. Matty from Watchtower Database talked about being non-binary in that video and used Baby Doll as an example of that sentiment, that feeling. So if you're at all interested, check out that video as well. It was very good. You
Yeah.
watched that. You didn't
We-
used to watch those videos with me, but then you sat down and watched that one.
We love Maddie. They are very beautiful, and I love the fact that they share their story. And it's I wish more people would be like them.
And the thing is, as well, I'm slightly preaching here a little bit, but it doesn't matter how other people live their lives, so long as they're not harming other people. Does it?
No, it's...
And I don't understand why people get so angry about, trans people existing. I mean, I don't know. I just can't get my head around it. It just shows a complete lack of basic human decency.
And the thing is, these characters that we see in these shows, and we interpret them the way that we do, were big things for us as kids and as young adults. But they were fictional characters. But when we see people in our daily life or on TV, and they get news stories and stuff about people being killed, and small town USA, or even other places in the world, just because they started wearing nail polish, or they were caught in a dress, or anything like that, I find that incredibly heartbreaking. Because if I were to have come out as trans to my family, although my family had very strong opinions on certain things, my grandpa would have been like, "Can I still call you Mary?" I would have been like, "No." Or maybe, I don't know, depending on what I want to go by. And I just... Although my grandparents weren't saints, I'm not saying that. It's just certain things like that you cannot change about yourself. They knew that. Mm-hmm. I don't understand, and it's probably the reason I don't understand, how other people could be so cruel and so unaccepting and intolerant of something that has absolutely nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
A trans person, a gay person, a person that has that's polyamorous, that has nothing to do with you. Most of the time, when us queer people go out, you wouldn't be able to tell.
True.
You really wouldn't, because a good example is me. I identify as a queer woman, a bisexual woman. I have been married for damn near 15 years. And I have been in love with my husband for nearly 20. But I have also had feelings for women. And when I say women, I mean grown women. But you would never know, because the love of my life happens to be a man. Now, if a woman goes out, beautiful Manolo Blahniks, amazing legs that go on for days, short skirts, beautiful bosom, gorgeous hair goes out. Beautiful. Why would it matter if they were born a man?
It doesn't.
Because on the inside, they were not born a man. They were always a woman. And the only thing that should bother you is how jealous you are of them strutting down in those Manolos. Okay, that's it. I mean, not every trans person wears Manolos, but this is just my thinking of it. There are so many trans people in this world, you would never be able to tell that they were trans. And it's beautiful that we have surgeons that can do that and that are willing to not go with some parts of society, and just be open to help someone become the person that they are inside.
Yeah.
So again, I ask you this: why does it matter to someone if someone is gay, trans, or queer of any type, or black or white or anything. Like, why does it matter to you? It's none of your business. It's not. So get over it.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because I remember, obviously, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s, and you'd just in like the popular culture, gay people were like mocked, and then that kind of become less of a thing now as society, generally speaking, has become a bit more accepting of homosexuality. But they seem to have moved their ire towards transgender people, which I just don't really understand.
Yeah.
And the thing is, okay, so I'll give you an example in my life. In real life, only know 2 trans people out of the hundreds of people that I've met, maybe even thousands of people that I've met. And I think that in the census, they showed that there was like around 1% of people identified as transgender. Yet the way some figures go on about trans people, they're acting
like
it's
50%.
It's like everybody's trans
You can
except
catch
for me.
it, like Corona.
Your child's going to see someone that's different and they're going to decide that that's them, or they're going to turn your kids gay or whatever. Just, it's absolute nonsense. Absolute nonsense.
And this is another, and I say this almost every episode, but this is one of the reasons I love the DCAU, is because first off, they did this. They were able to have characters like this. Yes, not as blatant as you could these days. And number 2, they didn't care. They did not care what people thought, because it was their show. And they had characters in their real life that were gay, that were trans, that were polyamorous. I mean, good Lord. Not every character that is gay has to be like the characters on Will and Grace. Although I do like that show. But they don't all have to be like that. Like, it's, yeah. We talk about this a lot, and I'm not going to apologize for it, but I am going to try to get on to a few more of these characters in here.
Well, we've been going for a while. Why don't we do one more?
Yeah. Let's talk about the one that I feel is talked about the most in terms of the out characters. Lovely cop. Renee Montoya.
Yeah, it's funny. So in the show, she wasn't really in it very much. She was mostly a background character. And I can remember this is funny. Years ago, there was an exchange with some guy on Twitter. It was me talking to him in the Watchtower database, talking about Renee Montoya as a queer character. And he was like, you guys know nothing. She has a husband. Because he was referring to an old version of the show's Bible where it said that at one point she had been married but her husband had died. He got to the point that Ty Templeton, who was the writer and artist, primarily artist, on the Batman Adventures comics, he poked his head in and said, "Hi, I'm a DCAU creator. Renee Montoya is gay. Deal with it."
Yes!
And it's funny because around that time, Batman Adventures Continue came out, and there was an issue that was primarily about Renee Montoya, and they just flat out and said, "Here's Renee Montoya and her girlfriend. I believe her name was Gloria, might have been Daria. Daria was in the comics. I think it was Gloria. And it's not a big deal at all. Nobody's like shocked about it or anything, and that's the way it should be. So I appreciate that Renee Montoya didn't get a lot of screen time and a lot of like personal details revealed in the show, but there's absolutely nothing in the show that contradicts the notion of her being a lesbian. Absolutely nothing. And I know that the characterization of Renee Montoya being a lesbian comes from the DC comics. Renee Montoya was made for the show, and seizing on this shortly before the show aired, DC included her in the comics and started making her a recurring character. And then I think it was writer Greg Rucka in Gotham Central, which was a comic about the Gotham City Police Department. Think of like NYPD Blue or The Wire, but set in Gotham. Really good. Recommend it to everyone. One of his, I think it won multiple awards actually. This story was about Renee Montoya being outed as a lesbian and all the crap she had to go through because of that.
Yeah.
It was very good though.
Getting outed when you're not ready is terrible.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Yeah. And I'm going to say this before we head on to the comment section of the podcast. Yes, we're talking about cartoon characters here, but even in real life, a lesbian could have been married to a man in the past.
Could have.
Sometimes we don't realize that the feelings that we have are right, or we don't embrace those feelings, and we go with what we think society wants, and that can break a person. Not only their spirits, their heart, it can actually physically break them. And just because someone is married doesn't mean, or has been married, doesn't mean that, you know, they were straight. No. There is, yeah. I'm not explaining this well.
I mean, you are explaining it. They could have very well just been conforming to society's expectations and been very unhappy about it. In the case of Renee Montoya, she comes from a Hispanic Catholic background. Mm-hmm. Maybe her parents pushed her into it.
Exactly.
You don't know that. We don't know for certain. I would argue, though, that the contents of an early draft of the show Bible, which describes Clayface as a criminal that uses a secret potion to turn himself into a mud monster for 24 hours, or Harvey Dent getting his face disfigured after he got impatient waiting for Batman to come solve a crime and then getting caught in an explosion. Oh, sorry, excuse me. No, they said he had acid thrown in his face.
Oh.
None of those things happened in the show. None of those ideas were used. Most of them were scrapped. I would therefore argue that content of the Writer's Bible is null and void, and you should not cite that over, say, Batman Adventures Continue, which is written by...
Or Ty himself.
Or Ty Templeton, yeah. You should trust the people that actually work on the shows and are involved in it, rather than, you know, some random shouty dude on Twitter. Not that anyone uses Twitter anymore.
Or embrace a character for how that character makes you feel and how you interpret that character. Who cares about what everyone else thinks? Or if your keyboard warrior friend doesn't think that character is representation of being queer. Who cares? If you think that about a character, go for it.
Unless it's Clayface, because Brad Rader and Kevin Altieri said, no, he's gay.
Yeah. But you guys know what I mean. Like, if a character makes you feel a way, it makes you feel a way. Mm-hmm. So, now that we are on our high horse and our soapbox again, I just want to say thank you for letting us talk about things like diversity. And, thank you from myself for letting me and understanding that being a part of the LGBTQ plus community isn't black and white. It's actually a rainbow. I want to thank you guys for understanding that and not putting bad comments and stuff. Like, our regular viewers would never put a bad comment like a nasty comment. As far as I'm aware, most of our listeners embrace diversity.
Yeah, it's funny. I did a post on the 1st of June celebrating Brad Rader's artwork and saying it was part of Pride Month. And you know what's really quite interesting about the reaction to it is that most people were like, hey, yeah, that's cool. There was a small subsection of people that were outraged at seeing Catwoman portrayed as looking like Divine, the drag performer. And it was really interesting just looking at the analytics. So out of 30,000 people, about 300 people unsubscribed. And do you know what? I don't want them, frankly, if they're going to get upset over a drawing by one of the most instrumental people that worked on Batman the Animated Series. Then they can get out. But I think it's indicative of society as a whole that it's, what is that? 300 out of 30,000. So about 1%. Mm-hmm. It's a vocal 1% of people going out there going, rah, 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 I don't like gay people, I don't like the trans or whatever. They are a vocal minority, and that's why they're getting so worked up, is because They are fossils. They are dinosaurs. They are losing. The vast majority of people, actually probably the vast majority of people don't care. They don't. Doesn't bother them either way. Cool, whatever. And then there's a big chunk of people who are very supportive. And if you are a member of the community and you are feeling unloved or feeling down on yourself, forget about those mouth breathing
bigots.
Yeah, forget about. Oh, you're getting me on my high horse now. Bigot, sycophant, ingrate, worm. Oh, I love saying that.
So, what I want to say about that particular thing, because I was going to bring this up, your post up, a lot of the people that we take inspiration from on a daily basis, whether it's in high school literature, art, music, TV, a lot of that comes from people from so many different backgrounds, so many different sexualities, and just so many different religions. Why choose that one picture to show who you are when Divine and Brad, so freaking talented? Like, obviously we know Brad's talented, but Divine, I'm sure Luke knows that I'm a fan of the movie Female Trouble, and I love John Waters. But what a beautiful artist. And yes, it was raunchy. It was one of a kind type of stuff that they did. But oh my God, there's so many references to things, even still today, in the art that we see today, from those movies and from those people like Divine, like John Waters, that you would never even know. And straight white men from the South, and these are only the people that I know that are actually like out and proud bigots, don't even realize that when they say things like, yes, my wife slayed today, that came from RuPaul. All right? So you were saying a term that came from an open gay man on a daily basis. And that's where I'm going to end on my soapbox and high horse. So, yes, the past couple of episodes have been of Totally Schway Flip Side and Totally Schway have talked about diversity, but I'm not going to apologize, and I'm not going to stop talking about it. Yes, I won't talk about it for most of the episodes sometimes, but it is something that I'm unashamed to talk about. And let's get on to the comments.
All right, first comment comes from new commenter, Becky Wilson. Hello, Becky. How are you doing?
Hey, Bex. If I can call you that.
Let's assume you can't. Anyway, the comment is, the Robins are the punching bags of DC.
Agreed.
Yeah, so
Agreed.
This is in relation to our last episode, sorry.
Defo.
Where we talked about how necessary Robin was. There's some dissension in the comments, unsurprisingly. But, yeah, I mean, seems like Becky is taking a similar view to us, I think.
Yeah. Agreed, defo.
Moving on to play content. Hello, Connor. Hope you're well.
Hello.
I like a lot of episodes Robin's in. When it became The Adventures of Batman and Robin, he was always there after all. But I never really liked them because of his presence. I actually liked Punisher in Spider-Man the Animated Series, though he was surprisingly dignified take despite the censorship. Though, once I heard your impression, I realised that he could have been portrayed even better. Mr. Trick not casting you, though a lot of people think a Spider-Man 98 revival's likely, so there's hope. Well, yeah, I mean, we'll let them off on this, because I would have only been about 8 years old at the time. How old are
you going to be?
So I don't think they would have taken the Punisher seriously with an 8-year-old portraying him.
Stranger things have happened.
True.
Stranger things have happened.
Okay, so we've got an emoji-filled comment from Mr. Smooth, new commenter. Mr. Smooth, how are you doing? Lots of thumbs up, 2 hearts, 2 peace signs, and a bunch of prayer symbols. Some people treat them as high fives.
They're high fives.
If you highlight it, it will tell you what it says.
Oh!
It's prayer. It's a prayer emoji, but people use it as high five.
Yeah,
and that's
I use it as high five. Well, the one time I've used it, because I don't use emojis as often as other people. You would say very rarely I use emojis unless it's for food, like apples. That's great, riveting.
Nick, I know. This is the insight people come and listen to this podcast for. Tell me more about apples. Anyway.
Smitten apples or Honeycrisp apples are the best.
I just want to finish this. Okay, all right. Next, we've got Time Lord Victorious. Hello, welcome back.
Hello.
Thanks for coming back. And you have a very fetching picture of Tom Baker as a Time Lord with the whole big head garb thing. Mm-hmm. What's that from? The Deadly Assassin, I think. I might have remembered the name wrong. But anyway. You would think Batman would stop getting Robins. I mean, one of them did go mad and try to kill him. Well, if I was Batman, I would never have had a Robin in the first place.
The savior complex is hard to rid yourself of. He needs to save people, and that includes all of the Robins in the world.
Save them from him.
The Jasons, the Dicks, all of them.
Lowell Lucas Jr. Hello, Lowell Lucas Jr. Hope you're well. You said,
Hola.
Hey man, I'm with your wife. Not all targets suck. Just because the one you went to sucks doesn't mean they all suck.
Word. Like, definitely. Because the one in Midwest City, in what used to be Town Center Plaza, I love that Target. It's got everything I need in it. Except for I wish it had a different coffee shop other than Starbucks. But, yeah, I loved it.
He continues, okay, speaking honestly, I don't really care for Robin as a kid. I'm referring to the comics and TV show before B-Test. Now I'm just thankful that B-Test handled him in such a way where you enjoyed and cared for both Robins. Before the show came out, all I knew was the Burt Ward Robin. And I'm like, oh God, are they trying to project this to us like we want to be like him? We'd rather be Batman or a villain. Honestly, I thought Tiny Toons parody with Bat Duck said it best, where his assistant, Decoy, was just a bright red object meant to cover enemy fire. Luckily, as the series went on, especially with Tim Drake, we really got to care about the character, especially Grayson transforming into Nightwing or Tim into Joker Jr. I thank the series for making me like Robin, but in the beginning, hell no.
No. No, thank you. Absolutely not.
Okay, we're moving on to Michael Andre Parlon with his latest tome.
Big Mikey P.
Just here after a recent Cowboy Bebop spoof short by Gianni Mantragrano. Anyways, a description timestamp isn't done properly as of starting out the podcast. Speaking of Damian Wayne, I actually like this The Brave and the Bold one-shot appearance in the Wayne Family Adventures iteration. Obnoxious they might still be, but that's eclipsed by some sense of honourableness and hidden depths. At 5 minutes and 55 seconds, guilty as ever. Is Bucky Barnes a kid's sidekick, though? That aside, Earth 92131 does not need a Winter Soldier. Bucky Barnes was a kid's sidekick in the original Captain America comics. Yes, he was like 14 or something ridiculous like that. At least Mary's Flights of Fancy are decent in contrast to becoming a Power Ranger. Magical girls are better than those costume brawlers. That's the thing about DCAU Robins and even Batgirl. They're flawed. But you know there's something done right with them when the audience isn't actually cringing seeing them, as contemporaries like those juniors in the Real Ghostbusters Season 3 onwards did then and now. Says something that they never showed up in Extreme Ghostbusters, which feels something like a sequel to Seasons 1 to 2, and a select few J. Michael Straczynski-helmed episodes like Janine, You've Changed. Dick Grayson's possibly 18 to 21 in Batman the Animated Series, in my opinion. Grayson does have an arc in Batman Adventures saga of tie-in comics, up to Batman Adventures 2003 in his defense. At 17 minutes and 18 seconds, that depends. Something I actually noticed that my comments never came to pass because I may have cried out something hostile. Big Mikey P being hostile.
I don't agree with that, and I'm not being sarcastic like Luke is.
I'm not being sarcastic. I'm surprised. DCAU voice acting and direction, courtesy of good old Andrea Romano, is quite superlative. Uncommon is the moment one will cringe at the performance and lines. Not even X-Men Spider-Man the Animated Series ever had such advantage in certain episodes and arcs. Jason Todd shouldn't purely be a DCAU canon character. To clarify, at 22 minutes and 42 seconds precisely means that the comics are basically set on a world line where Batman Beyond, and by extension Static Shock and Justice League Unlimited, never ever happen. Now, I don't think that's what Alan Burnett meant when he said it's what they would have done if they hadn't done Batman Beyond. It's more like they've gone back to the ideas that they had in place for the next season of the new Batman Adventures before they were told, no more new Batman Adventures, go and do Batman Beyond. When we get in a Superman The Adventures Continue to remedy the apocalyptic loose ends caused by this. I think they've moved on to My Adventures with Superman, frankly. Not that I'm saying that it's trash, though. However, the comic still has nitpicky flaws like retconning timelines and backstories and established stuff like the Lost Years miniseries and the Batman and Robin Adventures issue 19 featuring Huntress, respectively. In the cartoon canon, I bet Batgirl did that instead, albeit unintentionally. For the 90s, it's street kid gangs. For the 2020s, it's covertly raised superhuman kids being eugenicized and possibly kidnapped a la Halo Spartans, given the adopted Clark Kent Mamoru and Mummy Charney treatment, and slowly but surely ready them to become effective multiversal protectors no matter the price, in my opinion. At 24 minutes and 4 seconds, it's well deserved, but in the cartoon canon, this should be because of an off-state stint that involves him nearly getting hanged and thinking he's unholied invincible. See the Watchtower Database video about the guy getting a new look. If not that, then the Legacies of the DCAU webcomic explanation be used instead, if you prefer. For me, the Batman 2004 is less toyetic, more year one-ish, with a mix of all ages formula that benefited the DCAU and Teen Titans lots. Not that hyped with planned spin-offs for the DCAU back then. The show-running crew would have had quite exhausted and cut too many corners had they done a Catwoman show or a Dick Grayson Robin show, or a Wonder Woman show alongside the Batman Superman stuff. Besides, Batman Beyond came out after the new Batman Adventures finished its main run, while Static Shock came out after Batman Beyond is about to be finished, and even then, its creative crew is not all the same as Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. 32 minutes and 22 seconds. Back so soon, Mio. 34 minutes, 39 seconds. I'm actually pretty sure that's how the Punisher did his heroics back in the non-Frank Miller era. However, seeing Microchip in Spider-Man the Animated Series sure becomes harsher when later released comics. In hindsight, TV tropes even took shade on that. 35 minutes and 28 seconds. It's a highly debated trope about overdosing on tracts and Aesops. Captain Planet oozes it, like it or not. 35 minutes and 55 seconds. Nah, they're mostly for Mary's recommendation benefit. 36 minutes and 50.
Yeah, it's about me, not you.
Yeah, I know.
And I could say some of the names correctly.
I bet you could. Why don't you read the comments going forward?
Because I am slow and I make a lot of mistakes. Although I'm a fast reader, when I'm just reading like to myself, when I'm reading to people or out loud, I get really nervous, even if it's just you here. So that's why.
Okay, well, that told me. 36 minutes and 50 seconds. Acceptable. At least you're not defending Power Rangers and Spy Kids, Shark Boy and Lava Girl. Hee hee. Ugh. 42 minutes and 14 seconds. Yeah, The Vampire Lestat and The Queen of the Damned should have been truly adapted as sequels to a nicely done Interview with a Vampire adaptation. If Scooby-Doo is overreaching to you, Luke, then Teen Titans Go is overreaching to me and others. You'll understand if and when you're older. How dare you? Teen Titans Go is at least... It's written like it's a show for children, but they talk about adult topics.
I love Teen Titans Go. It's like one of my favorite things. Like if I'm having a really super hard, like really shitacious day, I will put that on and it definitely lightens my mood, and not many things can do that. I remember when I was let go from a job in 2016, it was horrible because it was a job that at the time I thought I wanted. When I came home, I watched that.
I was just going to call out the episode where Robin demonstrates how to be a good capitalist by buying up cheap property and forcing out the tenants so that they can then fix up the property and charge a higher rent. And Dr. Light is one of the tenants on rent control, and Robin's coming up with all these ways to force him out. Although my absolute favourite episode is the one where Robin tries to teach the Teen Titans the value of money. And Beast Boy decides arbitrarily that currency should be replaced by insects, so the bees, wasps, hornets.
Yes.
And he becomes like a hugely wealthy person because he's got all these bees, wasps, and hornets. And Robin, who only has cash, is now destitute.
Yeah.
And Beast Boy makes him dance for some bees.
Yeah. The thing is, we love this episode so much. It's in our daily language and dialogue.
Oh yeah.
Like every day.
Almost every day, there'll be a situation come up. We'll go, dance for yo bees.
Yeah.
I wish there was an hour-long version of the song from that. It's only like 10 seconds long.
The burgers.
No, the Dance for Your Bees
I
song.
say we like the burger one.
Oh yeah,
too.
bun, pickle, ketchup, cheese, put a patty in between his burger. What? It's burger.
burgers.
What? And then there's the taco song. Anyway, moving on.
Daily.
I've lost my place in the comment. I'm going to have to start again. No, I'm not.
No. No, because I will have to end up telling people that I was let go from a job earlier.
Jason Todd could have been allowed for the new Batman adventures, but his Red Hood identity wouldn't have been figured yet, since that came way later during the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited era. 49 minutes 55 seconds. Doesn't Wonder Girl appear in the somewhat apocryphal Justice League Unlimited tie-in comics? Do you know what? I think she does. I've only read them once, and most of them evade my my recollection. I know she was in the Teen Titans tie-in comics as well. But 50 minutes and 15 seconds, possibly a Proto-Flash costume for Wally West alongside that supposed Jay Garrick helmet as associated headgear, excuse me. Assuming Barry Allen didn't exist and got sacrificially erased after battling an equally erased Reverse Flash. I don't mind the lengthy contemporary that is _Phantasm.
We don't mind either.
It was such a long comment. It really killed my voice. Must say, Phantasm, did well in nutshelling the concept of Robin. I really wish it was like a nutshell rather than a lengthy tome, as I described earlier.
I liked it.
People, look, we always say, you guys take the time to write these comments. The least we can do is take the time to acknowledge them. So,
and I enjoy them.
Although Mikey P says, big complaint, however, is that it's not entirely compatible to the DCAU iterations. And that was basically my response. Like, yeah, none of that applies to Batman the Animated Series. So, moving on. Hope you guys also talk about notable gender-open stuff outside the DCAU. Shout-outs to the Owl House, Card Captor Sakura, Bloom Into You, Genderqueer, certain mythologies, and so on may be welcome.
That might... Oh, sorry.
He says, R.I.P. Luke's throat, though. Need a Lazarus pit. No, I need a Lazarus lozenge.
So, talking about outside of the DCU, that could be a Flipside episode.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, it's practically any of the X-Men. I mean, Rogue, she's got big queer vibes going on.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something else, like big hair or something.
No,
I was like, yes, she does. That big curly hair of hers.
She does have big hair.
I'm very wholesome sometimes.
And, I mean, in Flipside, we also talked about how Gambit has big bisexual energy as well, doesn't he? Like, he turns everything pink and makes it explode. But anyway, I know Big Mikey P's heard that episode because he listens to Totally Schway Flipside. Cheap plug.
We love Big Mikey P, and we will always love Big Mikey P.
So, next comment is from David BTAS.
Hi, David.
Hello, David. How you doing? Oh, he responds, hey, how's it going? Target failed miserably in Canada. Batman brought Robin along to prove to the people of Gotham how much Gotham needs a solo Batman. That's a good way of putting it. Green Arrow was asked to join the Justice League by Batman so Batman could continue to do his own thing and leave the babysitting duties of the Justice League to Green Arrow. Yeah, that's also a fair interpretation. Hence, Batman works better alone. Scooby-Doo was a public school announcement after Don't Do Drugs, and you too may mistakenly believe that your dog can talk and is demanding Scooby snacks, or it'll eat your homework.
Wasn't it Nancy Reagan or Barbara Bush that said and dared us not to do drugs? Was that not enough? Was that not enough for us not to do drugs? Did we have to have the Scooby-Doo PSA? I'm just kidding. Don't do drugs, guys. I mean, unless it's like legal where you're at and you do it appropriately. But don't do drugs.
Okay, next comment. I'm not entirely certain how to say your username. I'm sorry. I've seen you around a lot. It's because you've got numbers mixed in with letters. So it's A1ML33Y. I wonder if it's Aimlee, possibly? Let me know in a future comment.
I think it's pronounced A1ML33Y.
I mean, it could very well be. Okay, so they say, I like Dick Grayson mostly because of his adventures with the Teen Titans and how he broke away from Batman. I like to think DCAU Dick is with a version of them. Jason Todd just reminded me of a Winter Soldier Bucky and how his death made Bruce very much on the edge when that damn clown killed him. I'm surprised that he wasn't in BTAS, but BTAS Tim Drake was basically Jason Todd from his backstory. Funnily enough, when they revived Jason Todd in the comics as Red Hood, simultaneously Bucky was revived as the Winter Soldier in the Captain America comics. Just complete coincidence. Ed Brubaker was working on Captain America at the time, and I can't remember who wrote. Judd Winnick. It was Judd Winnick wrote the Batman at the time, although Jeff Loeb did introduce the idea in Hush. But anyway, that's a complete side story. Side story. What am I talking about? I like Comic Tim post-Crisis and his evolution into the 2000s, but Damian is a little insufferable at times, but I liked him in the Grant Morrison Batman run. I honestly feel like Batman needs a Robin to keep him from becoming a lunatic, and I feel like Dick Grayson made Bruce responsible and Jason being his big mistake. I hate Frank Miller All-Star Batman and Robin because that 1329, is that a reference to the goddamn Batman? Probably. Batman was a maniac, made Robin eat rats and called himself the goddamn Batman. I feel like Batman is interesting when Dick Grayson called Bruce out on his shit. Sometimes I enjoyed that from BTAS and even in the post-Crisis comics, whenever Batman is being an asshole, and I feel Barbara and Alfred calling Batman out on his bullshit. I hope I haven't made anyone mad on here. I noticed last time everyone dog puked on me for saying I hope this new Batman animated series doesn't use the Joker, because I personally feel like he's played out and overused. ABC. There's nothing new about him these days. No new stories, I feel. Well, no, you're perfectly entitled to your opinions on the matter. I have nothing to add, really. And you closed out your comment by saying, also wanted to say Happy Pride Month. Happy Pride Month to you too.
Hey. As for the Joker comment, I'm kind of this. I don't think the Joker's there's so much more they could do with the Joker, but I am glad that it's not reliant on that character, like a lot of things have been in the past.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of agree with you.
Okay, so next we have a comment from Screen Wiper.
Screen Wiper.
Content warning, very sad news.
Yes, I cried when I first read it.
Yeah, so start of the second week of my parents' stay, Pebbles, his chicken Pebbles, who we've heard about before, came down with what seemed like an infection, a bit like what Betty had and recovered from. She still hasn't shifted it after 2 weeks now. It's hard to feed and medicate her enough without bloating her, and she's slowly losing weight. She had other symptoms that suggest the infection may actually instead be a symptom of something even more serious, like cancer. Given the additional symptoms and how she just isn't recovering, each day she doesn't making the cancer hypothesis more likely. Pebbles is still able to enjoy life, but it's getting harder for her to do so every day. We have the vet again on Tuesday morning. He'll probably advise euthanasia. Chickens, despite their reputation, I have found to be incredibly brave. They aren't afraid of a bit of pain, just like how humans often opt to keep living with a painful condition, so I can tolerate them going through it if there's going to be a finish to it. If they're going to get better and be well again afterwards, it's worth it. But I don't know whether that's the case for Pebbles. I used to think so. I've kept her stable. I haven't made her better. She can't just keep living like this. If she keeps weakening, it's just going to get cruel to not put her out of her misery. So unless the vet has some unexpected new idea for one last try at recovery, on Tuesday morning I'll probably have to make the heartbreaking decision to put Pebbles down. She's so sweet and still so young. I'm absolutely gutted, and so will be the hens. Blue has seen friends get sick and die before, and she can already tell something bad is up and does seem upset. Those poor cheap meat hens are so badly treated by the system. Overbred to have ridiculously productive ovaries while young, with no regard for their health, because usually they're just turned into nuggets and dog food at 18 to 20 months old, when they stop laying 2, even 3 eggs every day. The ones who get rescued and get to live and experience sanctuary, freedom and love don't always get to experience good health for long, if at all. Their weird mutated ovaries just give them too much shit, giving them peritonitis, egg bind, ovarian cancer, and some other monstrous condition that sickens and even kills them. That's what Pebbles, and to a lesser extent Betty, who remains at risk of a relapse, is the victim of. It's like those overbred dogs with such squished snouts they have breathing problems all their lives, but probably worse. I'm hoping there will be a good reason for Pebbles and I to keep fighting, and she's recovering well by the time this gets broadcast, but I sadly expect that Pebbles will be dead. Wilma, Betty and Blue all seem okay health-wise at time of writing. They've been mostly good girls and not picked on Pebbles. As usual in these sorrowful times, your podcast has been some comfort and help. And then an unfortunate update, Pebbles has died. I had her euthanized after the vet found those tumours we were both suspecting. Life was only going to get worse for her, and it was barely acceptable welfare-wise now. She had a very peaceful, dignified and serene death, comforted by her daddy, me, all the way through.
I'm I have such a deep love for animals and for animals that look after my friends, and I see Screen Wiper as a friend, and it breaks my heart, and I'm so sorry to hear that Pebbles has crossed the rainbow bridge, as some people say.
She's gone to Asgard.
Yeah. Where all of our beautiful caretakers are, because that's to me what our cats, chickens, dogs are to me. They're carers, and it's really, really shit that we still in the year 2024 have an industry where they breed chickens just to lay eggs, and the way that they do it is horrible, and I'm not gonna go into the nitty-gritty details. You can easily find it. It's they don't think about what comes after that chicken can no longer lay as many eggs, like you said, and that is what sucks. I would love to have chickens one day, but you best believe those chickens are going to have their own house that's heated. If they don't want to lay an egg, they don't have to. Roosters not allowed, because we're ladies here.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, I'm joking, obviously, but I'm a bit, I'm going to stop talking, because if I continue talking, I'm going to start to cry again.
Yeah, well, we're very sorry to hear about that.
Yeah. And we love you, Screen Wiper.
So let's move on to David Carney. Hello, David Carney.
Hey, David.
Welcome back. Says, hi, Luke and Mary. Hello. In the comics, it seems to be a rite of passage for a Robin to die. Dick Grayson died in Forever Evil, then shot in the head and became Rick Grayson. Yeah, that was very silly. I love Batman and Harley Quinn movie. My favourite Robin has to be Damian. I agree with Mary when it comes to Batgirl. I fell in love with the character after reading Gail Simone's New 52 run. Hope you both have a good week. Thank you. That's very nice of you to say.
I did have a good week that week.
Good.
The week after that, not so much, but okay.
Next, we have a new commenter, Norris C761. Hello, Norris. Nice of you to join us.
Hi,
Welcome
Norris.
aboard. Says that Robin was definitely underutilized in the DCAU. I always liked the character in the comics. They could have made him more likable. Yeah, you can tell that some of the people working on the shows didn't really like him very much.
Yeah, you can definitely tell that. Like, I think that Robin was just like that kid that kind of stinks, and nobody wants to play with them. Or
then the Warner Brothers executives come in and go, "Come on, be nice to him."
Yeah, obviously I've never dealt with anything like that because I have a terrible sense of smell, which is why I always have like perfume and body spray. But you can only imagine like what the TV shows and stuff had to say about the stinky kid. That's what happened with Robin. WB was literally like you just said, come on and play.
Well, they make references to that in Teen Titans Go as well, don't they, to bring it up, but Robin is stinky.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to Floating Dulce, another new commenter. Hello, welcome.
Hi.
Says hi.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm gonna try this. Hi. Hola. Hi. The languages I can barely speak.
Right, moving on. Defuxa, hey Defuxa, how you doing?
Hey.
Maybe it might be time to start putting specific comments towards the end of the episode. I mean, looking at just the 28 comments here when I'm posting my own comment, someone has a comment that is literally as long as the other 27 comments combined, just saying. Yeah, it's true. Anyhow, main reason I wanted to comment was to make a note of comparison. Ace the Bat Hound versus Dick the First Robin. Both sort of feel like they hold the same sort of character role in their respective series. Taking a deeper look at the two different characters, it really shows what can happen if the writing team actually puts a little effort into the supporting side characters. I mean, Ace was likely more likable than Max was in some instances. Yeah, I mean, you know what, I'm not a dog person, I prefer cats, but I'd take a bullet for Ace the Bat Hound in Batman Beyond. Ace was a very good boy.
A very good boy. Oh, and Big Mikey P's comments are amazing. Y'all better just stop. Honestly, leave him alone.
Okay, so Zemox. Hello, Zemox. Welcome back. Who says, I used to like Damien, but after all these years, I have grown to hate him. He's arrogant and rude and never grows up, though I blame that on the writers for never keeping his development consistent. Teen Titans Go is obnoxious and not funny and needs to be cancelled, but I digress. Blasphemy! I never had a problem with Robin. He brought a little levity to dark situations and helped keep Batman grounded. I know most fans prefer Bruce on his own, but even Batman needs help. Tim was never whiny in lonely places, Luke. Yeah, he was. Seriously, at some point you have to go do a Totally Schway episode on the actual Batman comics and explain why you keep bad-mouthing them. I don't keep bad-mouthing them, I just bad-mouth the bad ones. BTAS would not exist without the source material. Yeah, but it's also dramatically improved on it, which is why I like it so much. Anyway, I like DCAU Dick, but I think Tim Drake had a stronger character arc. Yeah, I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
His ending was, as Robin, was tragic, but his ending as Tim Drake was poignant and powerful. However, honestly, I sometimes feel the writers on BTAS were too petty sometimes. I mean, look how they reacted when Freeze got his happy ending in Sub-Zero. Their response was to turn him into a head in a jar and gave him spider legs. Robin is necessarily otherwise. Bruce would be a bitter loner who fights crime on his own. It's called character growth. Just look at the Batman 2004 cartoon. I try not to. That version of Batman started out as a loner, but over time he slowly developed partnerships with others. From Detective Yin and Gordon to Robin, Batgirl, and finally the Justice League. Season 4 was the perfect ending to Bruce's journey. He finally realised that he no longer has to be alone and is more willing to open up to others, while still be a little brooding. No, fair enough. I mean, maybe I was a bit unkind to Batman 2004. It had the unenviable task of following up on Batman the Animated Series. All right, last comment. We have RDP16 Rules. Hello. He says, hello, Luke and Mary.
He.
Sorry I missed you guys again last podcast. Luckily, I haven't missed this one, mainly because as much as I like the magical side of the DC, I also like my sidekicks. Yeah, that's right, I'm a Robin fan. I'm also a Scooby-Doo fan, so I have to go off twice now. That's the rules. Okay, that explains the large comment. Okay, so why do I love the character of Robin? Luke has given plenty of reasons why he isn't needed in the show and feels like he's just there to sell toys. Newsflash, it's a comic book property. All of the characters are there to sell toys, and you've bought most of them. This is true. I have.
This
Even
is
the
so
Robin.
true. This is very true.
If they announce, I don't recall saying that as a criticism though. Like he was there to buy toys. I said he was there to cynically bring in the child market when the children are going to watch it anyway. But anyway, if they announced in December that in 3 months they would release a Santa Harvey Bullock from the holiday episode that scales to your favourite Batman figures, you'd most likely add yourself to the pre-sale list. Yeah, of course I would.
It would take him 30 seconds.
Oh, it'd be pre-ordered and months ahead of time. I'd have paid for it in advance as well. To me, Robin isn't just the kid insert character or the light-hearted addition to a dark and brooding world. He represents hope, kind of like a certain S-Shield to a guy in Metropolis. Dick Grayson and later on Tim Drake are aspirational. They are literal children who were able to become legit superheroes. Batman is a billionaire who knows nearly 200 martial arts and can beat superpowered beings through a combination of skill, tactics, and luck. Both Robins can eventually scale to that level, maybe even surpass it, but they both start off as kids. I was bullied as a kid. As I got older, I learned how to deal with bullies in my own way, for better or worse. That said, I could pretend that I was as skilled and capable as Robin and knew someone who could help as talented as Batman. I didn't feel so helpless and alone. Batman is myth, legend, god tier, but you could be classmates with Robin. He's that guy who tells you one more lap in gym class, tutors you in math or science, lets you take the last pudding cup during lunch, and feels just as guilty as you do when he falls asleep during class. He's a friend in and out of the suit. It doesn't matter that Robin hardly got screen time or had barely any lines. It doesn't matter that Batgirl had a bigger presence in the series. He's in the video games. He's got a whole line of toys to go with my pile of Batman figures. And most importantly than all that, he's human. Batman rarely, if ever, makes mistakes. And if he does, it's usually catastrophic. Robin can get beat up, make a mistake or two. He can even argue with Batman or the Commissioner. He's young enough that his mistakes can be forgiven easily. And all of this applies to Terry and Batman Beyond, except he can't afford to make mistakes. I'm 34 years old now, but when the show was coming out, I felt closer in age to the Robins than to Terry. Both felt like older brothers, but Terry and Nightwing had girlfriends. They drove cars and motorcycles. They were men to me at that time. My peers were Arnold Shortman, The Kids Next Door, Louis Stephen, and of course, Tim Drake. It's strange how the words man and woman make superheroes feel older, and yet boy and girl make them feel younger. I'm older than the actor hired to play the next Superman, but I imagine that character is older than me. The same goes for Batman. Anyway, I'm off topic. Robin was not the focus of BTS and wasn't meant to be. He was a cool character who I found out was even cooler in the comics. That might not be enough for Luke, but it's enough for me. I started watching Scooby-Doo as a really little kid, around 4 or 5. Cartoon Network showed all of the older shows.
Truth.
But the one that came on closest to when I was watching was a pup named Scooby-Doo. As a kid, I loved watching and reading scary stuff, but only if it was not too scary. Figuring out what that meant for me was tricky, but until Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island came out, I could reliably watch his adventures and not get scared. As I grew, so did Scooby-Doo, kind of.
I'm gonna talk about this real quick. So one of the reasons I don't like Scooby-Doo is because my twin cousins and my aunt would watch Scooby-Doo and Dragon Ball Z all of the time. Dragon Ball Z not as much, but every time in her bedroom you would go in there, Scooby-Doo, 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 Scooby-Doo. Everything that they wanted to talk about. Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Doo. I went from 1994 to 2003 having to hear them talk about... No, 2004. To hear them talk about Scooby-Doo all of the time. So I guess it's not that Scooby-Doo is just bad. Because I used to watch Scooby-Doo, like yourself, on Cartoon Network. It was late at night for me, with like the Hanna-Barbera, how do you say it?
Barbera.
The Hanna-Barbera stuff. But you can blame my cousins and my aunt. I still love them, but you can blame them.
And the funny thing is, you've moved in, that sounded weird. You've married someone who is all about Batman the Animated Series.
I know, but that's a bit different because with Batman the Animated Series, for me personally, there's more substance to it. And I know there's a lot of substance to Scooby-Doo for some people.
I don't think there is.
But not as much for me. Because I have that negative feeling about it because I was not a kiddie cartoon person growing up. I was definitely not that person. Like I've mentioned before, one of my favorite movies of all time from the moment it came out was Interview with a Vampire. Or Interview with a Vampire. I did not care for kiddie things as much. So when I was forced to watch it, I say forced, I just didn't have anything else to do.
That was all they put on, yeah.
It put a negative feeling in me. Mm-hmm. That was my explaining of why I don't like Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, I'm on the home stretch of the comments now, so I'm just going to plough right through. The beauty of the Scooby-Doo franchise is that while some things change, most of the time things stay the same. Scooby has a wider range of characters than just Shaggy, Daphne, Velma and Fred, and it was always fun to see other strange ally or relative. Scooby can interact with other cartoons, celebrities, and even superheroes. He's been all over the world, under most of the seas, in outer space, and even in cyberspace. He's been live action, Lego, animated, and even made into a puppet. Don't look it up, Mary. And no matter what happens, he can reliably help his friends solve a mystery in under 2 hours of our time. I genuinely love Scooby-Doo. There is something that makes him a symbol of Americana and nostalgia that I find endearing. Mostly, though, I feel like a kid with no responsibilities or worries watching this show. For a brief time, I can just relax and go on a fun and mysterious adventure with Scooby and his friends, and maybe the Globetrotters or John Cena or even Batman.
Oh, yes, the Globetrotters. I forgot about that.
Yes, I don't watch Scooby-Doo for complex narratives or themes. I watch it because it's fun. What's better than turn your brain off entertainment? For me, not much. Luke, Mary, the two of you can agree with me about Robin and Scooby-Doo or disagree. Frankly, my dears, I don't give a deleted expletive. Rhymes with bit, if you're wondering. In any case, I still think that the two of you are wonderful people who kick butt. And now for some hashtag Totally Schway questions.
See, who was it that doesn't like Teen Titans Go?
Zemox. Big Mikey P doesn't like him either.
So this is how we feel about Teen Titans Go.
Yeah, except Teen Titans Go actually does have substance and is funny.
Oh, shut up, Lou!
Anyway.
You just don't remember a lot about Scooby-Doo.
No, I do. You know, people that I like and admire worked on Scooby-Doo. Kevin Altieri worked on Scooby-Doo. Mm-hmm. But I don't like Scooby-Doo. I loved Real Ghostbusters as a kid. Don't think it holds up so well now.
Yeah, I never watched it.
But anyway, why did I bring that up? Oh, yeah, because Kevin also worked on that. All right, so on to those hashtag totally Schway questions. Batman has Ace the Bat Hound. Superman has Crypto. What pets should the cast of X-Men 97 have? I feel like Beast should have like a tarantula or something. Wolverine would have a kitten.
Obviously.
Cyclops would have some kind of ugly dog, probably a bulldog or something. Morph would have a gecko. Rogue would have a porcupine because she can't touch it because it's too prickly. Gambit would have a slinky cat. Jubilee, what would Jubilee have? I feel like she'd have like
a yappy dog.
No, I was going to say a hamster or something that she'd keep in her room.
Oh yeah.
And Magneto wouldn't have a pet.
I want to do mine.
Go.
I'm not going to do all of them. Magneto. Teacup Maltese. It has to be white to match his hair.
I see.
Yes. Professor Xavier. Spoiler alert, he's in there. I think he would have an anaconda and have an entire room for it. Bigger than the training room.
I forgot someone.
Who?
Bishop. He'd have one of those Sony robot dogs.
Obviously. I think Rogue. You know what? I'm gonna go with yours because that's a good one. A porcupine or like a toxic toad. For Storm, she'd have multiple animals.
Oh, I forgot Storm as well.
Yeah, she'd have multiple animals. There's not just one that she would love more. But,
forest critters, I feel.
Yeah, but I do think a squirrel. I don't know why, but I think a squirrel would be her favorite. Gambit, Great Dane. Wolverine, obviously a kitten. Has to be a really cute, blue-eyed, black cat.
Very fragile as well.
Yeah, like and Morph would have a color-changing gecko.
Next question. Batman Cape Crusader looks incredible so far. There seems to be no plans to bring in any characters outside of the Batman mythos, but what DC characters would you like to see in its style?
Constantine?
You want to see Constantine in Cape Crusader?
I say that because I've been looking up Constantine a lot recently with the people. Is it rumored or is it out that there's going to be a second one?
There is going to be a second one.
Okay, yeah. I saw it on one of my social media things, and I've been looking up Constantine, and I think I like that character.
There might be a Green Arrow villain who's primarily a Green Arrow villain, I should say, in Cape Crusader. I mean, I have seen a leaked image of them, but I don't want to say it. But then again, he has been in a Batman comic as well.
Not.
I'm not going to say who it is.
We're not. No spoilers.
I'm not going to say who it is. No spoilers. And he wasn't included on the list of
because I don't even know
of villains that Warner Brothers and Amazon put out on the other day, whenever that was.
You know who I would like to see? Wonder Woman. Because obviously she could have been around in that time and everything. There was another one I was thinking of.
Can I say my one? What do you think? Martian Manhunter.
Yes!
Seeing as Martian Manhunter debuted in Detective Comics, I feel like he's fair game.
Yeah. Hell, why not the Condiment King?
Well, he's a Batman.
I mean,
villain.
I know that, but let's just put him in there for shits and gigs.
Final question. Given how much you dislike the mainstream version of the characters, would you be open to reading the gritty comic reboot Scooby Apocalypse? Let me just say, look, there are good ideas and there are bad ideas, like obviously bad ideas, and that is an obviously bad idea. Why did that get passed? Who greenlit?
You know what? Shush. If y'all want to hear positivity and everything, y'all could check out my podcast, which admittedly has just had Luke on there, but there will be some episodes where it's just me. It's called Totally Schway Flip Side, and it's on my personal channel, which will be down in the description. And I will say positive things, unlike this guy over here. I cannot have that until I've actually read it. And there have been things that have surprised me in this world in terms of literature that I did not think I was going to like. And then I read it and I'm just like, goodness gracious.
And that's a perfect note to end this podcast on. We've ran over. It's way too long.
Thank you guys so much. I love you. And next time, the episode is going to be about
Wonder Woman. We're going to do an episode just about Wonder Woman because we don't feel like she gets talked about enough.
Yeah, I also have a question for you guys, and put it down in the comments. Out of Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy, which would you rather see an entire podcast about? Love you. Bye.